Okay, welcome to the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast. Today, the first of, we'll talk about this in a minute, but Filip Wiberg from today in EF Sundsvall Hockey. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Scandlux, your home for Scandinavian luxury products for the U.S. market. You can find us at scandlux.com.
So, funny story. We'll start here, but about how I found Filip. I'm doing a kind of an emphasis on North American Hockey League players playing here in the U.S. and juniors. And actually, former guest Kim Hilmarsson plays in Maine Nordiques. Suggested I contact Filip, so I reached out and I got to you via Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And what was my first pitch? I think I said I want you on the podcast, and you said sounds fun. What does that mean? And and then I sent you the questions, right?
Yeah, something about that team Maine Nordiques, and then I was like, I haven't played there.
Yeah, you haven't played that. So let's tell everybody. So the funny fact here, almost bizarre, is that sometimes we run into it that there's multiple people with the same name, someone that is 30 years older. And in this case, there are more than one Filip Wiberg that are hockey players. The bizarre part is what?
There's three of us. We're all three born 2002. Two of us have played before on the same team in Bjorkloven.
Yeah.
He had number 21 and I had number 22. Played on the same line a few games, and so yeah.
And neither one of you, so we're going to call him Tig, Filip Wiberg from Tig.
Yeah.
And we're going to call you Filip Wiberg from Sundsvall, originally, according to EP anyway. But
yes.
and the third guy, or depending on how you count him, he's Filip Wiberg from Maine Nordiques, and we're going to have him on later on. So we're going to compare and contrast. But I thought that it was so after you and I connected, and I realized no, it's not the right guy. I thought when I looked you up on Elite Prospects, really, really interesting, and you have a very impressive background, and which made me think about kind of this topic of, we've talked a little bit about that on this podcast about the Swedish system. So my main topic here today, and then we can talk about different your experience going through juniors and where you are today in J18, the third division in Sweden. But that is the ability to play up with older, not just one level, but sometimes two levels. The ability to play for multiple teams within the same season, and to continue to develop. And so if we look you up on Elite Prospects, let's make sure we tell people how do we describe you then. If we look up Filip Wiberg, which is Filip, and everybody spells it the same way too, Wiberg with a W. You're the guy with the Västerås white jersey and currently playing in Sundsvall.
That's correct.
And not the Norwegian guy who's got the Maine Nordiques jersey or the blue jersey in Örnsköldsvik.
Yeah.
Those are the three different profiles on Elite Prospects. So why don't we start? Because you're originally from Sundsvall, right?
Yeah.
How long did you live there? Because I know we'll go through a little bit here because you moved to Linköping.
Yeah, I lived in Sundsvall until I was, I think, around 11, 12 years old.
Okay.
And then
Hockey
me
family?
and my family. My dad grew up playing bandy and slalom.
Okay. Yeah. Downhill skiing. Yeah.
Yeah, downhill. So he did that and has always been really interested in all kinds of sports. And I started playing hockey, and then both my mom and dad has been really interested in that. But we were younger, both me and my sister, we moved around quite a bit, and due to my dad's job situation, he got offers from different places, and we saw it as kind of a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Like try something new. So we moved down to Gävle for around a year or so. And then we did the same up to Örnsköldsvik. And then we ended up in Linköping.
Okay.
After that. And now my family is living up in Umeå.
Okay. And that actually gives a little bit of, because if you look at your profile, and we're going to talk about that, you played for a lot of teams and you moved around a lot too. And maybe that's a parallel that you're.
Yeah, I'm quite used to it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. U16, and I want to highlight this, U16, good, Linköping, great organization, SHL team, J20 Super Elite or National now. And you were one of the top players in U16. How did you end up choosing then how did you end up in Bjorkloven in Umeå, which is further north?
Yeah, so I had a great year there with under 16 as 1 year younger than the other guys.
Yeah.
And then the guys born in 2001 was going into under 18 program, and I talked to the coaches and all that, and the plan was for me to play with the under 16 team for another season and jump in with the under 18s whenever someone was hurt or sick or something like that. So I was kind of angry about that, because I think that I really deserved that place in the first place there. So we talked to them, but that's how they wanted to do it. And then we kind of started looking for a U18 program that wanted to take me in and let me play as 2 years younger than the oldest players in that team. So we knew some guys up in Umeå, and then started talking to them, and on that way I ended up in Bjorkloven.
Yeah. And was that, so you and I talked offline a little bit about Erik Wikström's Serben. Was he your coach?
Yeah, he was our assistant coach in the under 16 team that year.
Yeah, previous guest on the podcast. Small connection there. So, and I guess the idea then is you play U16, and then you have the ability to play to get into an NIU. Was that considered an NIU program there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are NIU.
Yeah. And which is not a easy thing to do, but you basically make a choice here to not stay home in Linköping and move away. And how was that?
Yeah.
So in the beginning, how was that for you?
Yeah, it was pretty tough to live alone and cook your own food and wash your clothes and that kind of stuff. I think now, looking back, I wasn't really mature to live by myself. I didn't take the food too serious, gain a little weight, that kind of stuff. But it was a good experience for me too, to learn those kind of stuff that early.
Yeah. But you had an apartment then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I was 16, I think. Yeah. 16.
That is kind of early.
Yeah, that's early.
I think I may have, when I went, I had to move away for first year in gymnasium, and I think I was 17, but
Yeah.
and it was hard. I mean, it was not easy. So, and did you have family up in around the Umeå, or
We have a lot of relatives in Örnsköldsvik,
okay?
so quite close, but no one in Umeå.
Yeah. So you're on your own, and
Yeah.
and so on. All right. And but you had a good year. First year with of course, and this is the point that I want to talk about. Of course, on Elite Prospects, it's got in 1 year. So if we're looking at 17, 18, you're playing U16 a few games, and then you're playing a few games with the J18 Elite, and then a few games with J18 Allsvenskan. But what that really means is that they break the season in half before Christmas and after Christmas. Bjorkloven J18 must have been good enough that they moved into, I think now it's called J18 National after Christmas and no longer Allsvenskan.
Exactly.
But you also
And
got
then
a
the
chance.
North.
Yeah, so you're playing U16 and U16 and J18, but you also get to play a few games with J20.
Yes.
That played in, well, was called Elite, now it's called Region.
Exactly.
But as a 16-year-old, you got lots and lots of opportunities here. Play with your team, practice and play. Which team did you mostly practice with? Was it the J18s?
J18.
Okay, and then you got to play also in your age group games, and then every once in a while you got to practice with the J20s.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So like some more important games with the U16 I got to play, and the J20 was just to get some more experience and practice with them sometimes, and as you said, play a few games with them.
Yeah. And I just think that this is a uniqueness that personally I like. It gives a lot of opportunity. So when you are playing up into J20, you're really forced to play and stretch and become better.
Yeah.
If you have the emotional maturity, which can be tough as a 16-year-old, but and also the physical maturity to be able to hang with those guys. But then you also have the ability to go down. That can be really tough, but then you also have the ability to play with your age group. And I'm sure you felt like, yeah, I'm used to playing with these guys, and now come down here and you're full of confidence during those times.
Yeah, that's the case sometimes, but I think personally for me, I think it's harder to go down one step than go up. So in that case, to play with the under 16 team sometimes felt harder to keep up the pace and play like I played with the J18 or J20 when I play with them. To have that kind of game when I play with the U16, I had sometimes trouble getting that in those games as well.
Why is that, you think? Just the style of play, or was it that you're gripping the stick too tight, you got too high expectations?
No, I think, like, if I think about it, probably like when you have the puck, you have a lot more time to do stuff. You're not used to that. Like playing with J18 and J20, you don't get that time that you got in the U16. So too much time, and like you could skate that 80% and still get into the offensive zone, like those kinds of stuff, to still do 100% skate when you can do 80%.
Yeah. No, I get it. But then you also got a chance there to play international or representing Sweden. What was that for a tournament, or was that in some? I know it's got 3 games on here, right?
Yeah, we played 3 games against Finland.
How was that?
special. It was really fun, and it was a huge honor to play for Sweden, and really fun to play against those guys. Really good team, Finland, and a really good experience for me back then too.
Yeah. So I'm clicking on that. I'm clicking on that roster. And
Yeah, it's a good
for that
roster.
year, right? Now, everybody on this roster didn't play in those particular 3 games, but who do you remember? Was anybody that you're like, I remember that guy?
Yeah, Alexander Holtz, Lucas Raymond, William Eklund. Yeah, those guys stood out the most, I think.
Yeah, not a big deal, right?
No, not at all.
Well, I'm sure if I talk to Lucas Raymond, he's going to remember. Oh yeah, Filip Wiberg. I remember him.
Probably not.
It's okay though. It's okay.
Yeah.
But certainly not everybody's have had the 3 Crowns jersey in the closet, so, or in the on the wall, so to speak. Then what? So 18-19. Let's move on a little bit. So second year,
Yep.
or that would have been your first year, true J18 year. You're continuing to play with the J18, but now you get more games in J20, and also get 2 games with the men's league in Allsvenskan, second division in Sweden.
Yeah.
So you go in Bjorkloven, kind of exactly like you had it. You want to play up. You can play with your age group, and you can play up 1, and you can play up a second.
Yeah.
The second year, okay, you're no longer playing U16. Now you're playing J18 as your first year J18, but you're mainly playing J20, playing some with your age groups, so similar, but you also continue 2 levels up again. How was that?
It was a great year. It was really fun. We had a great team there, both at J18 and J20, and then it was a great experience being up with the men's team as well, and getting to practice with them a bit, and as you said, play 2 games. It was a great experience.
Yeah. And of course, I grew up at the time in Leksand, and Bjorklöven was in the elite serien back then with Velitalo, Elge Pettersson, maybe. I'm not sure who was all playing. I'm a little older than you, so but they had really their fan base was really strong. How was it? Going, it's a little bit different playing J18, J20, not as many people in the stands, and then you go in and you play Allsvenskan.
Not at all. Yeah, I actually played both games away.
Okay.
We played Västerås the first game, and then we played Almtuna the second game.
Okay.
And Västerås was kind of fun because they had like in Sweden it's called En Kronas match.
Oh yeah, big fundraiser, bringing everybody there.
Yeah. So it's free entrance for everybody. So it was a lot of people in the stands, so that was really fun. Wasn't used to that at all. And then the Almtuna game, I think like maybe 50, 70 Bjorkloven fans had traveled down to Uppsala then and watched the game from the stands there. So that was really fun too, to see that.
Did they bring the big drum and
yeah, all of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean,
yeah,
it's really it's a good experience for sure. But then, all right, tell me about this. So why would you leave? So you leave in the middle of this, or not in the middle of the season, or was that the end of the season to go to Karlskrona?
Yeah.
Explain that.
So
let me get here. You're playing in J20 Elite, which is not super elite, and Karlskrona isn't super elite.
Yeah, so that was the main reason why I moved down to Karlskrona, because I felt like J20 Elite, as it was called, it was a good league for me then, but I felt like I had more in me, but didn't feel like I was gonna break in the roster with the men's team that
Yeah, I mean,
early. So
it's a
I wanted
big
to
leap
try
with
out.
it's a big leap with
Yeah,
Hockey Allsvenskan. I mean, let's face it.
yeah, it's a really big leap. So I wanted to try out the Super Elite League. So we looked around for a bit, me and my agent, and then the opportunity came up to go to Karlskrona. It was a similar club to Bjorkloven, as they had J18 Elite, or they did not. They had J18 Division 1, but they had J20 Super Elite, and they had an Allsvenskan men's team. So
Yep. And a
that
fairly
was the main reason.
and a nice rink too.
Yeah, it's good, and a really nice city.
Yeah.
I really like that city. I was enjoying it.
Plus, you had Miro Solar as the strength coach.
Yes,
For
great
those
guy.
who don't know, Miro Solar was a legendary pole vaulter in Sweden.
Yeah.
All right, but okay, so you moved down there, and so that must have been at the end of the year, and then pretty much play J20. But that's a pretty good year, and also get to play 21 games in Allsvenskan. So that really went into the plan just like you wanted to.
Exactly.
And that's a lot of games in Allsvenskan. Which team did you practice mostly with there? Or did you double up every week?
I kind of doubled like throughout the whole season, but after Christmas, I moved into the men's team's locker room and practiced with them every day. And then if I was going to play with the J20 team, I practiced both with the men's team and with the J20 team.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention here is, you're not 5'11", 172.
No.
You're not a small guy. Is this a real accurate 6'3", 260?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah, I mean, you're a big boy, so it's not like, so back then were you a big boy then too?
Yeah, I think I was pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So now.
So from a physical standpoint, it wasn't like you were scared and didn't stick out because you were a little guy.
No.
I mean, I would say probably if I pulled up that roster, I don't know how many people are 6'3", especially 216 on an Allsvenskan roster. You must have been one of the bigger guys even as a young guy.
Yeah, we had some big guys on that team, but for sure not the smallest one.
Yeah, that helps as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And then but then I'm sure that when you have that opportunity, so your last year, that was your last year of J18. You played pretty much up in there. Where your mind in these times? You've already played for the national team a little bit. You're playing up. You're now playing in J20 national. At what point do you start thinking, I want to be in one of the top clubs in the country? Or is that kind of where you're going, and that's how you ended up in Malmö?
At that point of time, I didn't think that I would move at all. I wanted to stay there, and that was like, after that season, that was the plan, to stay there. I got a contract with the men's team after that season, but then the COVID. No, they got. how do you say, relegated down to Division 1 that year due to some financial stuff.
Yes,
Or
they went
yeah.
through they went through a really tough time, almost lost, or they did
Yeah.
lose their elite license and got relegated too, I think.
Yeah. So it was a tough summer, like having meetings, like I think once a week, talking about how the board are doing and how we're gonna make it and still play in the Allsvenskan. And so I think we got the message that Karlskrona was relegated like late July or something like that. So that was really tough.
So then everybody's, so now you're scrambling. All right, where can I go?
Yeah, and it's when a team get relegated, all the contracts just get broken up.
Yeah.
And then we looked around, and the assistant coach that we had that year in the men's team was taking over the J20 team in Malmö.
Okay.
To the next season. So that's kind of the way that I got into talking to them. And then the guy who coached Bjorkloven's men's team when I was there and won up 2 games was taking over the men's team in Malmö. So I had a little bit of connection there. So that's how I ended up there.
Yeah. So you're moving from beautiful Karlskrona to bigger city Malmö.
Yes.
And I know you told me offline that your housing situation was not as the best, right?
No, I didn't like it at all. And yeah, the city wasn't for me. And it's, yeah, when you don't feel like you're liking the living situation, it's really tough to play hockey there. And then when the hockey is not going as you planned and how you thought it would be, it's really tough. So that's kind of how I made my decision there to go from Malmö.
Yeah. And then you ended up in Oskarshamn, and then that was 2021. So and then that got put on hold because of COVID.
Yeah, exactly. And then my parents had moved up to Umeå, so when the season got shut off, I went up to Umeå, and then Bennes contacted me about getting a loan on me from Oskarshamn.
So a curious question here. I mean, Hockeyettan, which is the 3rd division in Sweden, how does that compare to J20 National with Karlskrona, Malmö, Oskarshamn? You've had an experience playing at the top J20 level. How does that compare to Hockeyettan?
Yeah, that's a tough question, but I think you could say like some games on the J20 level goes a little bit faster.
Yeah.
But the players don't know what they're doing as much as on the Division 1 level. So sometimes it can be a little bit slower, but you're smarter players, and there's still that leap to senior hockey from the juniors.
Because let's face it, the majority of the players that plays in Hockeyettan, I mean, they're pros and are coming out of J20 national teams, right?
Exactly.
They're not coming. This is not a low level hockey. This is good level of hockey with players that, I mean, and that's the other second point I wanted to get across here with, how do you compare region to national? How do you compare J20 national to Hockeyettan or Allsvenskan? I mean, Allsvenskan, how would you describe Allsvenskan?
I mean, first of all, Hockeyettan is a much better league than J20 national for sure.
Yes.
And then Allsvenskan is, I would say, if you play in like a top team in Division 1, the leap isn't that far, but it's still a kind of a big step to take.
Yeah.
Because usually the guys that go from Division 1 to Allsvenskan are like the top scoring guys.
Yeah.
And when you see they come into new teams in Allsvenskan, they don't get the same role because they have better players to do it better than those guys who goes up.
Yeah. And bigger budgets, bigger organizations.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking at Allsvenskan this year, you got Södertälje, AIK, Djurgården, Brynäs, Västerås, Bjorkloven. Those are just off the top of my head that are very long time established organizations in Allsvenskan. So normally you would have thought that all of those could be playing in SHL.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
And they have big budgets to be able to bring in imports and signing really, really strong players. So, but there's got to be a big disappointment here with COVID coming in, and then you're making the best out of it. You end up in Vännäs in Hockeyettan. But then, like, everything stops, right? COVID now is over. COVID blows away, and then everybody starts over. So is that how you ended up in Västerås back in like I said, one of those teams that have a long history, played in the SHL with the elite team, but also plays in the top division, J20 National, used to be super elite with J20.
Yeah, so that was kind of what I was looking for that year. Västerås didn't have the best J20 team at all, so I was offered a big role on the team, playing a lot of minutes, and then for sure that they had an Allsvenskan men's team made the decision easier.
And it looks like that you led the team there in scoring for that season.
That might be correct.
Yeah,
I don't really know.
And then you also got to play. I mean, that's got to be probably one of your best seasons here so far. You also played 39 games with the men's league in Allsvenskan, and then one game with Tommy Salo's home team Surahammar.
Yes, I was loaned out for one game.
They needed a big body.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then you stayed there for your last year. No, so was that your last year as a junior? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was your last year. And then you had so you got a deal. I mean, a contract with the men's league team again. Yeah. And then, so now we're kind of rounding out here. So this year, you're going back to your roots where you grew up in Sundsvall.
Exactly.
Kind of an interesting organization. I'm pretty impressed with Sundsvall. Thomas Sten, Alexander Sten. What's their role up there?
Alexander Sten is his general manager for the men's team.
Yeah.
And then he has he does a lot of things, but that's his role.
Yeah.
So
is he originally from there? Is that why he's there, or?
No, I don't actually really know where he's from, but I think his wife is from here. So
I didn't know what the connection, because Thomas Sten's dad played in Leksand before he turned pro, and then he was primarily in overseas, and I think he may have actually been born in the U.S. and be a dual citizen, but of course played many years with St. Louis, and it was interesting to see that he went back there. But so Sundsvall. Third point that I want to talk about: Timrå versus Sundsvall. So not a lot of people. Timrå is just this little town, little suburb of Sundsvall.
Exactly.
But Timrå is has a lot bigger history when it comes to hockey and is an SHL team. So you're the little brother from a hockey perspective. Timrå is a little brother from a community standpoint.
Yeah, I would say they are little brother in both ways.
Well, Timrå is pretty impressive when it comes to their hockey stuff. But talk about the kind of the you're in the middle of preseason now. What's the expectations there with Sundsvall? I mean, I know they got a pretty big push here to push up to Allsvenskan, right?
Yeah, we're a young team this year. I think our average age is around 21, and we have a lot of guys born 2002, 2003, some guys born 04, and then we have some guys born in 2000, and our oldest guy is born 97. So it's a young team.
Wow. And a couple of guys from Timrå, Leksand, Färjestad. So I mean, these guys are J20 national pedigree players that are coming up there. So
exactly. So I think that we have a really good team. As I said, a lot of young guys, but what I've seen so far in practices in the first game that we played, I think we look really good so far, and I think that we could upset some teams this year.
Yeah, and I know that it's been they were in promotional play last year, so almost made it last year, and certainly reloading and going for it this year. It's going to be fun to watch. Hockeyettan is such a, when I was growing up, I didn't pay at all attention to Hockeyettan. Never paid attention. I grew up in Leksand, so it's kind of Elite Serie and SHL is everything. But there is a lot of there's a lot of great teams. These smaller towns that have great hockey culture, that has great following. Who was it Nybro that went up to Allsvenskan this year from Hockeyettan?
Yeah, and then Kalmar got moved up to because Kristianstad got relegated afterwards.
Yeah. So I mean, I remember listening to another plug for Trash. I think it's Trash Talk, or I'm not sure which the podcast is, to talk about the Hockeyettan, and I listen as much as I can, and they talk about the fan following. So Nybro, who was really pushing hard, had probably the top fan following. So you're going to be trying to do as a team what they did last year, and it's set up for a regular series. And then what happens? Is there a after Christmas the funnel gets smaller?
I think it's the top 5 teams. Yeah. I lost the name of it now.
But I think it's after Christmas.
Yeah.
Some
after Christmas, it's one series, or it's two series with this year we're playing the East Division in that series if we get there, and it's the top 5 teams from our series and the top 5 from their series, and then the West play against the South.
Yeah. It's and I think that what that creates is competition, rivalries, tough games,
sure.
and every game counts, and then you get into playoffs, and it's just like Allsvenskan or SHL. It's really every game, every goal counts. So that's got to be fun to be part of.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So here's the thing I want to, since you are now, let's see, you're 20, what are you, 21? 21. I've asked this question to many guests, and I'm interesting since you've had this experience with a lot of these different teams.
Yeah.
Let's say you met yourself but you met yourself, but as a 17-year-old, but you now have this experience that you've gone through, or 16, 17-year-old. What would you tell yourself? What advice, since you've now been on this journey and have this experience, what would you tell yourself, sitting on the couch there and shooting the crap and then saying, here's some advice for you?
I think the only thing I would make different is pay a little bit more attention to the cooking the first year I lived alone. That's all.
What was otherwise on you most of the time? Kebab tallrik?
Yeah, sometimes that was it for sure, but a lot of falukorv and that kinds of stuff. So
very nutritious.
I think that would have been all. Otherwise, I would do the same thing again if I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, you certainly have a unique, but you've been on this journey and you're incredibly young for have experienced so much, mostly ups, but also a few setbacks and a few downs that has prepared you for kind of where you are. And I would call you almost like a veteran, almost coming out of juniors. Do you consider yourself that way?
Kinda. I mean, my last year playing J20 with Västerås, it felt like I have played juniors for so many years. But yeah, I mean, like that year to get to play, like I think I played almost 80 games, and that's a lot in Sweden. I mean, usually you play like 45, 50 games. So that was really fun and a great experience to play that much as well. So kind of veteran, but not really.
No, you're a very young, experienced, very experienced, I would call, looking at your history. So it's going to be interesting to get the other Filip Wiberg on to talk about his role. Last thing, though, we have a kind of a partnership with Target Aid where we're going to promote each guest's favorite organization, klubben i ditt hjärta, or the team or your organization closest to your heart. Who do you, if I was going to ask you that question, who's the club?
Sundsvall Hockey.
Sundsvall. All right.
Yeah.
And we're going to give a big shout to Keda Nilsson as well, the perch fisherman of Sweden. Tell him I said hello. I'm trying to get him on this podcast. He's too busy fishing. And hopefully he'll be happy that you gave that nod to the organization. So so what we're going to do is we're going to give that a highlight on the Target Aid website. We'll help promote, and that's just an initiative that we're doing for social good reasons, where we help the organizations with their fundraising efforts and stuff. So we'll help do our part with that as well. So Filip, thanks for jumping on. It's been fun. It's been educational. I learned a lot about your journey, and hopefully the listeners can glean something from it and say, that's kind of understanding. I can see they should really go to the elite prospects when they listen to this and kind of look at your history there and see a lot where you've been. So thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks.